Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Thanksgiving week Nadex morning analysis. Uh, it is Thanksgiving week. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot. It's been a bit quiet, but you never know. I know some people are traveling anyway for the holiday. I hope everyone who does do that does stay safe. I hope everyone who doesn't travel actually stays safe. Before I jump into our our session this morning, let me quickly introduce myself, Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. I've got from Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. And we do need to let you know that trading does involve risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, and that any trading decisions you make are solely at your own responsibility and at your own risk. And lastly, this is an educational session. Please don't construe anything that Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We're doing this for your education purposes only. All right, so Brian, what do you think we might have this week? Anything that we might want to just tee up as something to think about before we jump into a couple of potential trade setups for today?
Yeah, so Thanksgiving week is always an interesting week. You have a lot of people that go on vacation, trying to get that extra couple days. But typically, trading during this week can be it's either boom or bust is the best way to explain it. Typically, the volumes are much lower for the first 2 days, Monday, Tuesday. Trading is as normal, but it's almost a little bit more fast and furious for the traders that are out there. Um, Obviously, Friday is one of those days where they're still trading, and in fact, Thursday there's actually trading as well because, again, remember, not every country in the world is celebrating the United States Thanksgiving, so there is actually trading that does occur this week, but it tends to be less of a, I guess, engagement from U.S. banks, U.S. traders, and things like that, as our markets are closed for holidays. But it doesn't mean that there is no trading. It just means that the trading can be different. The trading can be a bit more volatile. With less volume, it takes less to actually move the markets, and that's one thing that people, if it's on your side, it's great. If it's not on your side, it's one of those. What happened? There's why the markets are not open. Why is it moving? And then again, some big highlights this week. News this morning for the pound was great, their services and manufacturing. So the pound has taken a rather large rally up. We're still waiting to hear about any type of Brexit agreement there. The UK had over the weekend, late last week and over the weekend, they signed a trade deal with Canada, which is always a big perk as well. So that could come at any time. And again, with no U.S. trader there could be big movements in the pound upcoming this week. With people locking down and nothing, oil could be another one. I don't know if you guys saw or not. Oil has already taken a pop this morning up to a level that we talked about
Indeed.
last week, around 42. That could be another one that is a big player this week. It's funny, you see a lot of warnings out there right now that you got to be extremely resilient if you're trading oil right now. Well, it's going off level, so you don't have to be that resilient, but you do have to be aware that the volume is lower because there's not the normal traders in the market.
Yep.
Um, and again, lower volume, oil can spike all over the place. And oil is one of those kind of international commodities that just because we're eating turkey doesn't mean that people are purchasing oil and demand isn't there. But demand is obviously extremely crippled with lockdowns. Governors saying we're canceling Thanksgiving, don't travel, you're not allowed to leave the state. There's going to be an effect, and we'll see that on the inventories. Not this week, but next week, and probably 2 to 3 weeks after that.
Definitely something we'll be paying attention to that. In fact, if you're not joining us every morning around this time, we'll probably be taking a peek at oil
Yeah, we're going
later
to
in the
break down
week
oil
for
tomorrow,
sure.
definitely.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, and that is a good point, right? Thanksgiving is just celebrated in the United States. So,
Well, Canada celebrates it. It's just a different day.
well, different day. Yes, 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 yes. And they call it something else. So, all right. Well, you know what I want to do real quickly is I would like to bring up, doing a quick little review. I know the Dow Jones Industrial Average here at Nadex, it's the Wall Street 30. But it's sort of been the favorite child among the indices, in as much as people aren't quite sure what the broader market is going to be doing. They're not sure what technology is going to be doing as we all weigh out what's going to happen with COVID, and value stocks have become into play. I'm just going to bring up and kind of show you what we were looking at last week. In fact, let me bring up the chart from the Dow from today. There we go. Let's get everything back in there. I think I lost. Oh, I know I lost a level in here. That's okay. I'm going to draw it on here as we go so you can see. But first, there was this level that we saw support. We saw it all the way back here where buyers did kind of step in. It was around this 29,200 level. And since then, this was back in the day. Oops.
Back in the day, last week.
Last week, right? That's kind of
right.
You know what? I think I didn't want to do that. Well, we'll ignore that for a second because it doesn't really matter. Or here we go. We're going to look at what the Dow has actually done as of late. I'm going to drop this in here now. It's actually seen this level of resistance up above a little bit. Tested it. It tested it this morning, and we've been selling off. So I guess the question is, are we going to see this come back down to this 29,200 level? What might we expect to see in the Dow this week from your perspective? Here, let me go ahead and bring up your chart.
Sure. Yeah, and the level that we had the open here, I mean, this is, if you guys are looking right here, this is the Sunday open, and you can see it open right in a level. And this is pretty typical. I've mentioned this a few times in the past. When we open inside of smaller time frame levels, tend to be good buying opportunities. Now, this is the level that you had marked off as well. This, approximately right here around the 29,200 level. So since that time, we've bounced up, and you're right. There is areas of sellers coming up in here, right around the 29,500 level. Again, psychological place to get short. Again, the trade is already at this point kind of completed for early morning. You got nice movement all the way down to 29, like 250-ish almost. So again, a nice move down. Again, what was the trigger for this? It would have been the European Open. I know I preached that a lot of times, and again, waking up early in the morning, stinks. But when you can wake up early in the morning and then, kind of see this much movement in that short of a period of time, it is worth giving up a little bit of sleep. But as far as where it can go now, I would say at this point, the way that it's looking, the punch down that it's had in the last half hour, I would say it does look overly bearish to me. I do think we can continue to push lower. I do think we will have probably some like a hiccup or some type of a pothole back in here in the 29,150-ish range. Again, where these buyers stepped in this, yesterday and kind of rallied this higher. But I do think overall targets for this week in general need to be down at that 29,000 mark. And if we go back, again, this is a 30-minute chart. You can see this is an area here where not only did we put in a nice little bottom, we had a pullback to that level, and then that's what, kind of reestablished this, strong push forward. This is also a level that if, for those of you fib drawers out there, this is also a level that I'd be using for my fibs. That's kind of the extreme bottom side, and we have the extreme top side. And then again, we have everything in between. So I do think that's a decent level. But right now, I would have to say, looking at this today, it does look like for me that it would be pushing to the downside. Catalyst for this week for that one, obviously, Cyber Monday and Black Friday are going to be big holidays. But again, indecision, lockdowns, basically the death of the storefront business this year, because again, they're all closed down and no one's going out. I think is it's going to weigh on the market this year. And again, I would say overall for the week, I can see this coming down. And could it take a bounce late in the week off this? Sure. I mean, it's an area where buyers have stepped in. It halted it here and tested it. So again, depending on how much movement we have in this lower volume week, it could be a nice short and then bounce late in the week for Thanksgiving back to this upside.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's definitely a hot spot to take a look at with the Dow, particularly because it has been sort of the favored child as of late, and it's been making some movement, something compelling to look at. Let's go ahead and take a look at one other thing today.
Sure. I'm going to touch on this real fast, and I didn't actually tell you about this ahead of time. This is like a surprise for you, like April 1st.
Okay. I like surprises.
I did mention in the beginning, and the reason I'm saying is because I keep looking up, guys. I have multiple different monitors, and I'm looking up at the 24-hour pip changes. Here's the pound spiking. The pound had, obviously, the UK had great data this morning, and again, it kind of coincides with the other trade that I told Todd that I would like to talk about this morning. But we pushed up to window level. This is a lot of movement, very very fast. At this point, whenever you see this much movement, there tends to be rollover. So, everybody go check out your pound yen chart and kind of match those up, see what you could find there. But I do think that's a decent level. The pound dollar is the same way, but I wanted to actually highlight the euro dollar to give you guys a little bit more room to kind of do some analysis. And there's a couple areas that I wanted to point out for this one. Now the euros move 46 in 24 hours, so not a ton, but it's Monday morning. Everything hasn't kind of kicked into this one. But what I'm seeing in this is, where price currently is right now, you're seeing it's a little bit of a red candle, right? If price goes up just a bit, we have a level that we talked about last week at the 1917. Now, what I like about this is, this, for those of you that are new and haven't seen this before, this gray box and this darker gray box, it's what I would call the curve. Now, I didn't come with that name. It's just something that I use. I picked up over the years, but the curve is what I use for my bullish and my bearish bias. When we're high, I tend to be more on the bearish side, looking for downward setups. This is an area, and again, this is not as I coined last week, we don't trade with a crystal ball. We trade what we see.
Right.
We've seen sellers step in here and drive price down very, very hard. Right now, this is a level where we had sellers step in the past. They came up strong movement. What I'm looking at is if a potential rollover right here. Now, couple ways you can play these things, as I mentioned before, and again, this is about knowing your products. I like knockouts a lot. This is one of those situations where.
Hang on. Let's go ahead and I'm going to switch this around if we're going to do this. And we're going to talk ways to potentially play that. Let's go ahead and put it on the platform.
Okay.
And there is. We do have our. Well, I'm going to try to make it a little bit easier for people to see. There's that level that you've put in.
Mm-hmm.
There are some knockouts with that might be interesting if we were to pop up here that someone might want to take a peek at. I don't know. I'm not sure. Knockouts are they the way to play this one? Maybe.
Well, and that's again. I wanted to again. I love the idea of knockouts. I love the fact that they are so in touch with price. But on the flip side, sometimes they just don't match up, and we have to use other things. So for me in this one, there are knockouts in that area, but I do feel that maybe the risk is a little bit too big for me personally. Doesn't mean that someone else couldn't take that position. I think on this one, I almost kind of want to jump across and again, depending on when we hit this, if we hit this around 10 o'clock this morning, again, if we get a little bit more of a push up, we've seen this pattern multiple times over the last few weeks. We have dollar weakness going into the Monday morning open, and then it rolls and tends to give us dollar strength back again.
Yep.
It's kind of, again, it's a repeating pattern again and again and again, and we've seen sellers there. So for me, I'm probably looking more at binaries, and I will say, if price is able to break through this, although it is high in the curve, it's not at the extreme. It's the extreme end of the curve that I do like. I do like a call spread up there. And one of the advantages of the call spread is if we do have a little bit of volatility that whips us higher, it doesn't take us out of our position. It gives us it gives us the ability to be right later on in the week. Where the knockout, I love it. It's close in with price. But if it does just whip slightly on a low volume week, it takes us out of the position, and then it could go exactly where we thought it was going to go to. So it's kind of one of those advantages of a call spread.
Right. No, I like it. So I mean, there we go. I kind of brought them up as you were talking about it, but there are the. Oh wait, I'm on the.
You're back on the other one. Yep.
I meant to put this on indices. Yeah. I apologize. I wanted to go back over to the.
You said the Dow's the favorite. I think the Dow is your favorite.
Is my favorite.
It is your favorite, Todd. Now we all know. Todd spends all day looking at the Dow.
Yeah, so let's go look at the euro US dollar. Here we go. There we go. So I'm gonna bring this in some. Yeah, there could be some interesting call spreads in here. So someone would have to take a peek around at what they're looking at. And
it's a bit higher. I think the call spread that makes the most sense is showing a little bit of patience. If we can continue today to get that dollar weakness out. Again, remember, countries tend to like their currency weaker, and the reason why is because it makes exports cheaper as well and stimulates business. Typically, in the past, what you see is when your economy is not doing as well, you weaken your currency, so that way, when people buy things from your country, it's much cheaper with the currency transaction. So this week, with the United States not being fully on board and basically closed down on Thursday, the euro, the European, traders, they could literally make the dollar more or stronger to make the euro currency and the pound currency cheaper for countries to purchase goods from, which kind of hurts the United States, if that makes sense.
Right.
Market psychology is really what that boils back down to.
So no, that is definitely interesting, something to consider, and I like the fact that we were able to kind of go through and take a peek at whether it was knockouts or call spreads or into the binary options. There's different ways to play all of this, and you just have to kind of do your homework, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with that, I would like to say, one, if you're looking to reach out to Nadex, customer service at nadex.com, or follow us on social media. If you want to catch up with Brian, support at keeptradingsimple.com. We are doing this every morning. Love to have you here. Please join us every morning. Then we do get these recordings up on YouTube pretty quickly. But love to have you. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully everyone is staying safe this week and is going to enjoy. We're going to call it the whole Thanksgiving week. I think everything in 2000 in 2020 is, we got to celebrate the good things as long as we can. So we'll take it where we can get it. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll have you again tomorrow, and good luck in the markets.